Hello,
Hello.
everybody. Welcome back
Good
to
morning.
our live Q&A brought to you here by Ashela's YouTube channel. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And today we are taking your questions. Apologies if you were on the other
Yes, so
the
sorry
other
about that.
post because we got on the wrong account. So hopefully some of you will find your way over here. And
That was my fault. Thank you for continuing to join.
So, greetings, everybody. Greetings. I think you found us. Hello. Crystal, do you have something you'd like to start off with while we're waiting for people to jump on with their comments?
I'd love to look at any lingering energies from this equinox that we've just been through, anything that we, any wisdom on that? Because I know it seems like people are still feeling some pretty big energy happening right now.
Absolutely agree.
Good morning, Angela.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, so we're just checking out our lighting here. I've got a different lighting situation, which may or may not work. So bear with us for a moment. We're going to play around with finding the right brightness, a little lower maybe. Hopefully, I think that might work.
Okie dokie.
We'll try that. We'll turn the other lighting down a little bit too. There we go.
Da, 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 da.
Okay, so we are asking about what do we need to know about this lingering energy. We've just gone through the equinox, which is one of the great season changes of the
really,
one of the four.
Really also came in on that big full moon energy too. Mm-hmm. So with the eclipse and everything, it's been woohoo.
Hi, Valerie.
Hello, Valerie.
Portuguese rainy holiday day. Well, it's not super bright here either, Valerie, so maybe you're not missing much. So what do we need to know about this time period where we've just come out of the turning point, this end of a season, basically. Always when these transition end of seasons happen, it is it's kind of like this time of year, the beginning of a journey inward, and
yes.
Weather can obviously relate to that. There's often a really dramatic shift that happens around the solstices and the equinoxes. So for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going inward. We're starting to go inward. And then all that Pisces full moon eclipsing energy, which was taking us back through the past in a lot of the deep subconscious places where we maybe are still holding challenging patterns, addictions, and it's been up in our lives, it's been up in our clients and our friends and so on. So we have us showing up as, we are really grabbing the tools. Look at that. The magician is holding the rod, and he's got all the tools on the table in front of him. And what we're being shown about this time is that it is Four of Cups. Let's see if I can get it so that it's not, that might be better like that. Yeah, there we go. So it's this still feeling a bit like we are wanting to be protected. Do you get that feeling from this?
Yeah, Crystal? A bit of vulnerability in our hearts. Yeah, and just needing to give ourselves some of that energy that's been probably quite external for the summer, just coming into a bit more of an internal space, setting that intention.
And it's he's sitting under this tree. He's communing with nature, and it's almost like he's not feeling a lot like connecting emotionally. You see that? The cup is holding emotion. It's being offered, but he's got his arms crossed and he's saying, I just need a little bit more time to recalibrate and be peaceful. So let's look at the past. Oh yeah. We've been at this gateway. This card, I often refer to the priestess as the ancestor card. And she's a lot about the interdimensional energies, a really big, I want to say, opening with all that Piscean energy. The dream time has been very opened up, a lot of deep subconscious stuff being stirred. And what do we have in the present? Oh, lovely. Knight of Cups. So as much as possible, not taking things personally, staying in your heart, staying in that spirit of generosity, the random acts of kindness. This came up in my forecast for the week on the Beyond Mystic channel. And it feels like, on one level, we're feeling very, I want to say, closed down. And on another level, we're feeling really generous in our hearts. So it's a strange juxtaposition with these two. What do you feel about that, Crystal? What are you noticing?
I'd love to see what else comes up, and then let's
another major card. This is a major arcana Hierophant in the potential future here. I'm going to just move these all up a wee bit, and then we can see all three of them. So, what do you make of that? What do you make of the Hierophant coming in?
I feel there's some there's some pretty big interweavings with how we're being affected by a lot of what's happening in the big systems around us. That's what's happening in the big systems in the States, and there's a lot that's really coming in where we're feeling like we're wanting to lead from our openness, our hearts, and our best parts of ourselves, and yet we're bumping up against all of these systems and old soul contracts that we're working through.
Okay, so we're looking at advice here with the two cards that I'm going to lay out now. Queen of Pentacles and the Five of Swords. Five of Swords. Okay, so what I love about the Queen of Pentacles is she's very good at self-care. She's very good at staying grounded. She's the Earth Queen. We have 4 queens in the tarot. We have the Air or Thoughts and Ideas Queen. We have the Wands or Fire, Spirit, Creativity Queen. We have the Cups or emotional, relational Queen. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles, which is all about Earth plane. So she's staying grounded. She's like caring for herself, lots of good self-care, especially related to food, activities, lifestyle stuff. And she's also, she's very practically oriented. She's doing things in the physical realm to kind of, I want to say in a way, almost like sidestep some of this emotional vulnerability.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's a lot of, this is the essence of who we're capable of being and how we care for ourselves and the tools that we've actually been gathering, especially over this last year and now going into this change of season. All of the feelings that come with some of the transitions and what's happening with these big systems, this is kind of like the possibility of what may be coming in. There's some conflicting thoughts and conflicting messaging, and we're being invited to really come into what really grounds us, what really fills our cup, and grounds us into, this is a real, looks like harvest and bounty, right? So what are we harvesting from what we have created over this last year and throughout the summer, and what can we really ground ourselves into so that, as Mom said, we can be sidestepping some of this transitional external force energy that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the psychological defeat card, and it's showing up beside this Queen of Pentacles. So on the one side, when you put 2 cards together like this, they're going to impact each other, right? He's actually, because he's the second card drawn, he's actually impacting her a little more heavily than she's impacting him. because in essence, if we're laying it next, he goes kind of above her. So this indicates to me that all our best efforts of grounding and focusing on practical things, on things like food and material resources, our money, our um, I talked about in the forecast for this week on our root cellar and our pantry and putting up food for the winter and so on, and the practical things we can be doing with material stuff. Even those best efforts we're still going to be feeling this overwhelm in our minds, the frustration of this mental, I want to say this can really dig in and start taking us into anxiety. But he's a 5, which means it's almost like all bark and no bite. It's like if you let this psych you out, well, it's gonna take you down. It's gonna take you down. But if you just keep facing it and going, miles to go, I'm staying grounded, I'm staying in productivity mode. I know there's going to be a lot of static in the airwaves. And I'm going to say, well, let's just start with the next 4 or 5 days. And also, we're looking at changing the guard is what I'm hearing. And we really want to be aware as we're changing the guard here in the near future. And this is around governments and systems of hierarchy, the church, the state, the institutions. That's what the Hierophant often represents. And if we're going through a changing of the guard, we want to be very aware that we're not giving all our power from one power dominant system to another. That we are like it, with this energy afloat, it's very easy to just say, you know what, make it stop. Good heavens, make it stop. Whatever, sign me up for whatever. I just want to feel normal again. I just want to stop feeling so confused and vulnerable. And this is kind of like, I want to say in a way, the final test here, because it's not about like, I think the relief that we're seeking is something that can't be found outside of us. And we are so close to really powering up internally. This getting through this next few days, the next few weeks, in terms of not getting psyched out, keeping our feet on the ground, practicing with the new tools that we're gathering. Speaking of which, I'm going to be launching a Dowsing Workshop. Really incredible. I'm launching that on the Beyond Mystic platform. It'll be up and available on the 21st of October. It's a pre-recorded program with 4 modules. Super excited to share this with you.
I'm so excited for it. Like I've been witness to all the creation and everything that's coming out, and I'm like, oh, I want to learn this. This is, and of course we share in dowsing together and stuff, but it's so next level and so encapsulating, and I am so excited to tune in with all of it. So
I've learned a lot in of course gathering, preparing the course material for this course. It's up leveled my skills and understanding of how I can apply dowsing in my day-to-day life, how I can work with it with my clients. It's really super exciting. So this is just one of many tools that are available to us right now. And in a way, I almost feel like we're spoiled for choice at this juncture. And I think it's important as we go into these places like, oh, everything's so chaotic and I don't even know what to do or what to think. And I don't know how to strategize and how to plan. And the guides are saying, you know what, just look around and pick a new tool and start to develop something. Like, don't spend your time lamenting about the things that are not available or not working or not lining up or, because it's almost like we have more high quality, high caliber tools. A lot of stuff is available for free on the internet. A lot of these programs that we're developing on Beyond Mystic, we're making them more and more and more affordable. So, yeah, miles to go with all of this, but it feels like grabbing some tools to add to your toolbox at this point is probably a good way to spend your energy and time. And of course, working in the 3D practical stuff with your food, with your material belongings, your surroundings, your resources, and so on.
Let's pull up Angela's question
Sure,
here.
sounds great. Hi, Angela.
Okay. Thank you everyone for your questions, and good. Hello, Janice, Faye, Lalt, Miss Fiji, Cass. Hi, we see you and we see your questions. Thank you so much. Angela, is there any negative energy still coming out of the earth to escape?
Good point. Wow. That's a great.
That flows into what we were just coming
It
from
kind
here.
of does,
So
doesn't it? Yeah. You want to give it a shuffle there, Crystal?
Sure.
Add your wisdom and energy to this.
I am shuffling.
She got to reach across.
Shuffling. Please share with us how, if anyone wants to, how your week was, how your full moon eclipse was, how your equinox was, how you've been doing. Oh, yeah.
Lovely.
Your grandfather used to douse. Very interesting, Angela.
Alrighty, kiddo, you want to lay out that answer to our question about negative energy still coming out of the earth?
Yeah, I think I'll just pull a few cards on it.
Sure.
Oh, we've got the same ones coming up.
Oh, wow. That is wild that we had these two were so prevalent in our last reading, and you saw how much Crystal shuffled. I mean, there's 78 cards. We both shuffled. There's 78 cards, and the chances of those two coming up in a very prominent 3-card spread are so small.
Yeah.
So we're clearly in, I believe what we're seeing in response to your question, Angela, is that yes, there is, the earth is in this vulnerable, compromised, like, I want to say frustrating kind of anxiety or chaos node. And again, temporary vibrations.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I just looked over at Moon Garden. Can we check into see the percentage of us ready to bring in the new frequencies? So when I look at percentages, just glancing at this, what percentage of the earth energies and the new frequencies are available to us? 40 to 50, right? We've got the 4 here in the past. We're working our way into the 5. The 5 is the fastest moving energy. So it's almost like once we get past that 50% point, there is an acceleration if we can stay in motion and not get stuck.
Yeah, I'm going to actually just pull a couple to add to this to ask how we can support ourselves, because the energy is coming out of the earth to escape. Now, are we escaping it, or are the energies escaping from the earth? So that's interesting. So I'm just going to tune into a couple ways that we can support ourselves during this time. There he is again. Beautiful.
Yeah. Janice is saying, I keep seeing and hearing the number 5. Interesting. So the 5 is it. Okay.
And here we go with another 4 as well.
So we know about the 5. It's the number. It's like the 5 fingers of our hand. And the number 5 is associated with the, oh, we got a fly in here too. Oh,
We've been trying to get this fly out of our office for days.
Chaos and frustration,
we
right?
Have a visitor. That...
So the number 5 is also, when you look at a leaf, any leaf off of any plant, when you lay it down, it has that pentagonal shape within it. Even the long, narrow leaves have a pentagonal shape. So the pentagonal shape is the shape of growth. It's the shape of, in the toroidal field of Earth, the 5 is the pulse of growth and change. It's the number of change. So it is this steady, ongoing process of growth and change and growth and change. It's like a pulsing, spiraling energy. And we don't want to fight the five, right? We don't want to fight it. If we try to resist it, if we try to push back and go, no, I don't want to grow, I don't want to change, no, 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 it's just going to ramp up bigger and bigger. The waves are going to get bigger. It's going to be more and more energized and chaotic. So what we want, both with earth energy and with our own personal journeys, is we want it to release gradually, regularly, right? We want to be like, oh, like that crock, the whatever, the pressure cooker where you have the little valve that releases. I feel like we're looking at Earth as releasing, let's imagine and visualize regularly, so we don't have to have these massive explosions and earthquakes and volcanoes and chaos, right? So we're really working with this chaos energy. It is necessary, especially because we've got a lot of this. Four of Pentacles is where we've been stuck in the material.
Yeah.
We're stuck in scarcity. We're stuck in holding on. I want to say, if you look at this character, he's holding a pentacle tightly in his arms. He's got one under each foot. He's got money and security on the mind, and he's just kind of locked into this holding pattern. So all this five energy, that the chaos that we see in the world, the growth that we're all being called to go through, the energies escaping from the earth and all these earth changes, it feels like cataclysmic and so huge. But if you can just kind of keep pace with that and know it's necessary to erode away how much restriction and like locked into the material we've been. Crystal, what are you seeing in this? You've got some things to add to that.
Yeah, and I feel like, if we look at the question, supporting ourselves in this time of so much chaos and change and changing systems, that that generosity, and Mom, you've talked about this before, the other side of scarcity is not abundance or wealth, it's generosity. And so that's really shown here, that we've been we're kind of being sort of pushed into this reality of feeling like, okay, I've got just enough, and I can wiggle this way a little bit, and I can wiggle this way a little bit, and I can invest in these parts of myself, but this is I'm like, I got just enough. And there's a lot of that kind of survival mode energy that comes in when you're put through chaos and put through a lot of transition. And it's just continuously reminding yourselves, like, let's have compassion, let's have curiosity, and let's lead with that place where we're just still allowing generosity to flow through us, because it's the generosity to ourselves and connecting with other people that it's like we start to realize, like even in this conversation, that there is a lot of big energy flying around, and there is a lot of people that are going through a lot of different things. And so if we can all meet from this generous, heart-centered place, where that's how we get through all of that.
Yes, definitely.
And we have 2 4s and 2 5s. So we're learning how to master and how to balance out the energies of the 4 to build that harmonious foundation, and the energies of the 5s to really master all of that transition, because the 5s are always going to roll in and roll out of our lives. It's such a blessing. It's meant to stir it up.
And the more, I notice with my own life, and we've talked about this a bit, is the more that we demand from ourselves, like, I'm building a big reality in my world now, my demands of what I expect my life to do for myself and others and my family and so on are huge. So it's like the challenges are going to be equally huge, right? And it's not a punishment. It's just hey, you're working, you're playing with, big chips in the game now, right? So it's just a bigger energy. And I feel like all of you watching have so many bigger chips in the game than you used to. And so it is kind of overwhelming, right? I mean, if you look at some high rolling individuals on our planet, that this is it, they get used to having a lot of this big energy and big
Yes.
chaotic growth nodes, and they're not
Mm.
scared of those things,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. Hi, hi, Norma. Hi, Norma Jean. It's so good to see you. Moon Garden, Valerie,
Okay.
Janice. So we're gonna go
I'm
back.
going to go back up here. We've got some questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to miss you, Cass, and then we'll get to you, Valerie, here as well.
Perfect.
So has Ethereum bottomed and going up from here on?
All right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I want to know the answer to that.
Yeah, we do.
And it's funny. We're both jumping up and down with excitement. So I feel like that probably says something good. Crystal and I have noticed sometimes when we're doing divination around different topics, we go, oh, I don't even have to look at the cards, because as soon as we start talking about it, even if our minds are going kind of flat, like, I don't know, I don't have an opinion, our bodies start jumping around. We're like, okay,
Quite
I guess
often we'll have similar reactions.
yeah,
to things.
and then we're kind of like, okay, I guess my body is saying something good is about to happen. I'll let you shuffle on that a little bit too. Yeah, when we were deciding,
I'll just snuggle in.
when we were deciding to move here, where we've been living for the last couple of years, we were sitting up on a mountaintop, and we pulled some cards. Well, we were just about to pull some cards, and we literally both we said the question, and then we both just found ourselves sitting up into a yoga position, and then the 10 of cups, which is happy ever after, flew out of the deck, and we're like, I guess we don't even need to have 2 cards on this. It's kind of like the answers there.
Okay, so what if we do 2 3-card piles? Like, has Ethereum bottomed, and then is it going up from here? Or should we try to do it? Because they're 2 different questions.
Well, let's just see where it's at. Let's just ask
where it's at.
Yeah, 3 cards.
3 cards.
10, a 6, and a ooh. And what do we need to do with it? 2 more maybe. So 10 is pretty much bottomed out, and then on its way back up in the next 6 days to a level 10, 11 November. This is the 11th card. So leveling out in November to a plateau. Let's look at what, which is interesting, because that's November is technically about 6 weeks, right? Let's look and see what we do. Oh, wow. Okay, so we don't get psyched out by negative propaganda. We don't get psyched out. We stay in the fast lane, is what I'm hearing, in the passing lane. We just stay activated. That, I always say about these cryptocurrencies, and they each have their own almost like kind of signature energetic.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's about the energy you feed it.
Yeah, the energy of Ethereum has always been this like kind of a little bit renegade-ish, a little bit like super creative. And so, yeah, I just feel like staying in that frequency and holding on. So 7, the Chariot card, it's going to hold its own, and it feels like it's the long game. The Chariot is about a longer, it's about a longer journey, and it is about staying armored up and not giving up. So it feels as though, yes, bottoming out, starting to rise in the next 6 weeks, and then coming to a level plateau probably around mid-November. But that's not the end of the story. Ethereum goes on and on and on, is what I feel. So are we in it for the long game? I think that would be the ideal choice, is to be in it for the long game. So,
and Norma Jean has commented here, Charta Chronicles, given what I know of the crypto world, this is the bull run, because this was the year of the halving. So given the history, it will go back up if it sticks to the history, just from the classical
Yeah.
Ethereum is earth,
Yeah.
she said. So yeah, I mean, it's
Cool.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
see
yeah.
here. Let's go back up to that. Okay, next question. Okay, so Valerie had this question here. Weird and funky energies here this week. I got the number 3 show up multiple times, and then what does this mean?
Okay, so threes.
Mom, you can speak to threes.
Yeah.
Numerology here.
Numerology is a really fascinating study, and one of these days I'll get my numerology pre-recorded classes out as well, probably on my own platform. So the number 3 is the frequency of activation, playfulness, synergy, right? You put two things and they kind of polarize each other. You add a third and you get this flow. You get an energy of movement. The even numbers are very stabilizing, but they can be a little locked in. The odd numbers create more movement. So the 3 creates movement and growth, but it's a lovely energy, right? So if you look at all the 3 cards in the tarot, except for the 3 of Swords, even that though, it's the movement of the old sorrow out of the body, mind, spirit. So the 3s are a blessing. They when we get 3 of a kind in tarot, I like to say it's a blessing. The 3s are about harmony and joy and playfulness and creativity. Good number to be seeing.
And to me, it also is an invitation to come out of black and white reality, to come out of any he said, she said energies that are going on, any sort of division or conflicting energies that are happening. And there's always the invitation to understand the beautiful harmony that's created when we know that it's not just these two sides, that it's also spirit and source energy that is involved always. So then that will always create the flow. So in terms of what I'm saying, just be aware of any sort of black and white thinking, feeling energies that are coming in, or thought patterns that are happening.
Yeah, I love that. And Valerie went on to ask, what does this mean? A weird energy 2 days ago when the number 3 kept appearing in one day in multiple forms. Let's just have a quick look for you, Valerie. What was that about? Oh, look at that. There's that Queen of Wands, which I was just talking about, how the 3 is very creative, and she's the queen of creativity and spirit. Overcoming.
Yeah.
Okay, so overcoming lack and fear, abandonment. So a weird energy, yes, but the 3s were going go, 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 right? The 3s are kind of like your cheerleaders. So Valerie, I think you were getting from your spirit guides, go Valerie, go, Valerie, go. You can do it. Keep moving through the old patterns and look where you're headed, my dear. The star. So it's getting that oomph, that hip hip hooray, rah 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 from the number 3. It's your cheerleader. That's what I'm getting.
And this is where, look, we've got another 5 that just came up there. So it's like so much of these funky energies that are coming in are those messengers of like, it's time for an upgrade. It's time for an upgrade. It's time for an upgrade. This is what's holding you back. This is what's holding you down. This is what's, and so because the upgrade is like, we're all being invited to move into a much more sovereign way of being, a much more sovereign way of activating and becoming than we have in the past.
It's so funny. I had a vision as Crystal was speaking, and I'm looking at the lions on the Queen's throne. Do you see those lions behind her head? And what I was being shown is, I have that image of the lion tamer and the lion tamer's going, come on, don't get, up you go and run around and do all those things. And the lion is kind of like getting really disoriented and dizzy and then it just gets mad and it lets out a big roar, right? Like, rah! And I think that sometimes, we're getting really activated, like spirit is working us like a lion tamer, and it's creating I want to say more strength and resilience, and like the lion is getting strong and capable, and actually utilizing its fierceness and its strength to do extraordinary things. But it can sometimes feel like you're getting all sort of spun out by all that 3 energy and all that 5 energy, and you just gotta roar. You just gotta let some frustration out. And for some reason, they're showing me the that posture in yoga where you stick your tongue out and make the lion roar. And I think we all need to be doing that a couple of times a day right now, because it's like, it feels like we're being, the lion tamer's whip is on us all the time. And I don't know about you, but I'm just like, oh my God, like I want to bite someone's head off sometimes. So let the roar happen. Let the roar happen is what I'm hearing.
Hello, Suzanne. Hello, Ricky. Okay,
where
so
are we
do
at
have
with questions, Crystal?
Yeah, I got you here. Hang on one sec. Let me just double check. Okay, beautiful. So we're not missing anything here. We're gonna go down to Suzanne had this question here. Is Trump a reincarnation of Cyrus the Great?
Whoa, that's a curious question. Let's check that out. Here, you shuffle on that.
Trump fella.
Yeah. Shuffle on that as well. Did
There
the
you
fly
go.
get
The
you?
flies come to give his opinion or her opinion, their opinion here.
That is really funny.
I mean, this fly is very entertaining to us because every time I try to get it out, I'm like, oh, I see it. And then the minute I go towards it, it's gone. Yeah. Poof, little hider. And I'm like, okay, well, and not that you need to know all about our fly, but I feel like there's a trickster little ancestor that's just like, no, I just want to spend time
like
with
that
you.
Lion tamer
flicking
us around and just being like getting us all upset and grumpy.
Here we go. Tuning into Trump, this being. This being
is Trump.
Here, Mama.
A reincarnation of Cyrus the Great. I'm gonna do a
do it.
Oh, okay. That would look like a yes. And the reason I say that, and I'm going to just jump out on a cliff a little bit here. Why not? Because, interesting. This is among other things, it's an ancestor card. So reincarnation actually descended from is what I'm getting. The possibility that he's not only the reincarnation of, but a descendant of is very, very likely. Isn't that amazing? And I often see overlaps between descendancy and reincarnation. It's kind of like another long topic I won't get into too much right now, but it's not surprising to me. Seeing this is almost certainly an affirmation of yes in my esteem. And 10 of Cups. So something really profound that was completed in the past, and it created a foundation that can be built on for the future. So it's almost like a skipping stone energy through time is what I'm seeing, and that there's going to be another version of this, I don't know, maybe another 1,000 years from now. So yes, it's, this is archetypal energy, and at the same time as being the reincarnation and descended from, one of the things that I'm being shown is that it's almost like his purpose is kind of coming to an end in a way, and that there's going to be a lot more of the legacy that is about continuing within the foundation that's been provided. And it's almost like, well, maybe you heard it here first. Let's see what happens. But it feels like Donald Trump may, in the future, kind of step away from politics and really get into some sort of very practical working with earth, with agriculture, with changing systems in a very sort of humble way. It's almost like I get this feeling that he has, at the end of this life, he's destined, or he may even be desirous of having a very simple life. And like just really practicing some of the things that he's been this figurehead for his whole life almost.
I love that he's been this figurehead. You can, sorry, Mom, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
go
you there.
for it.
So like, I love that he's been this figurehead, but that it's cute because he's kind of been the page. Like he's come in and he's stirred up a lot. Like he's like stirred up a lot of energy, and it's been a part of his destiny path, and he's kind of done it like a bit of a fool. With that page energy, in that he's bringing forth like a lot of just sort of like wild, sort of playful ideas and thoughts that are kind of like out of the norm of what you could expect from a politician, right? And so he's certainly playing the role that he came here to play.
Let's just add in, there's another page right there, another page. And so yeah, there's a different chapter, I feel like, and it's probably going to start within the next 2 or 3 years, where he's going to do an about face and take us all on a new journey. And
I've been suspecting that
is
as well.
So cool. I've never seen that before. So this is really interesting. Well, folks, you heard it here first, maybe, or maybe not.
Or maybe on this podcast. Ricky says that at Bo Polney did a podcast about this, the similarities between President Trump and Cyrus. Right. Curious, because I was going to ask Suzanne where that concept. I stumbled upon Cyrus in the Great in 2020 and just felt that Trump was carrying on his business in our time, setting things right again.
Cool. That's very cool. Well, and interesting that we're looking at him changing his approach, kind of doing an about face and coming at things from almost like a very practical earth-based level. In the next 2 to 5 years. So we'll see what happens with that, but stay tuned. I
love those
everybody.
2-page energies. It totally reminds me of Trump.
So those 2 pages, when we see pages in a spread, it's a new beginning. It's like starting from scratch in a new arena. So that is very curious to me. We'll see what happens with that. Do you want to pull up our next question here?
Yes, Crystal? I will. So we've got another question from Suzanne here. Is the Photon Belt the manna of ancient times, the stardust that will heal the world and make us gods with all sorts of powers? No small questions. Thank you. I love it.
You shuffle too, sweetie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Photon Belt. The manna of ancient times. And the stardust that will heal the world and make us gods with all sorts of powers. Curious. Yeah, very interesting. I'm excited to see what comes in around this.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to lay out the spread?
Let's have a look there. Oh, there's another one. Okay, where am I going here?
Is this the manna?
Ooh.
Huh. Okay. Well, it's interesting, when I look at this, when I see this, so we've got us we're very curious and playful. We're that little page of wands, like, hey, what can we have some new energies to play with? We're really curious about energy. We've been talking a lot about frequency. We've all been feeling the great change of frequency. And the question around, is this the manna of ancient times?
So, and she also says maybe not the manna, but at least the stardust that we all come from.
Right. So it feels like there's two energies that are kind of very different here. We have on the one hand the learning, which feels to me like, because we've got this King of Swords and the Hermit here, it's like I feel like we're going to be relearning some old mythology and almost learning more about our origins. And this goes on for really, really decades, if not centuries. Like, we're going to be coming back into a deeper awareness of our true origins, of our true history. And so I think we're just on the brink of exploring a lot more in that realm. And what it feels like when you said, this Stardust will be available and it will give us powers, I don't think it will just give anybody powers. I think what we're doing is we're learning that the powers are available to those who've done the work and grown themselves into the vessels or the energy sort of antenna that can work with that. I don't think it's just going to be a mana that's available. It doesn't mean that it's excluded from anyone, but you will have to evolve and mature and go through some kind of personal journey or rite of passage to be able to access this. And I feel like it's actually going to be coming through the earth. So
that's what I had to say.
That's what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Okay, you say that, please. Say that part, Crystal.
No, it's okay.
Like,
finish what you're saying.
It feels like it's channeled through earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learn about these practices, these ancient practices. We get strong. It just reminds me of, like, if you want to evolve these superpowers, you're going to do something like, go to an ashram and learn meditation and learn, the bodhisattvas grew into being able to levitate and do all these extraordinary things. But they had to work to get their whole vessel to be, I want to say, open, grounded, clear enough to channel that energy. So it doesn't mean that it's not available to everyone. It just means that you can't really, it's sort of like, there can be a certain kind of fuel for your engine that's available to everyone, but unless you design your engine to be able to use that fuel, you won't be able to actually make use of it. So this is us learning how to design ourselves spiritually, metaphysically, the science of that and the practice and the work of that, so that we can receive this energy. Crystal, have at it.
Okay. I mean, right away when this card got put down, I noticed her crown of stars there, which really stuck out to me. Like, the access to the powers that come from us coming from Stardust and from us being Stardust beings, are actually really in this reality going to come. We've got 2 3s here as well, so it's interesting. They're going to come from harmonizing and becoming in the flow with nature, with our natural law, with and the more that we learn to work with nature and that we come into that stillness in ourselves, so that we can listen to nature, so that we can tune in with the frequency of nature. And that is such a broad spectrum term, and frequency. And then what we do is we take all that wisdom and all of that, like the creativity and the birthing that comes from tuning into the Great Mother, and then we move into celebration and sharing it with each other, because this uniting from that place is actually where the power is going to be, right? So we're asked to go inward right now and to learn how to commune with nature, to commune with natural law, and how to actually come into our feminine power. And that's a pretty broad spectrum thing as well, right? And then bring it into celebration and communion with other beings. And that's going to be where the power lays.
Yeah, this is very interesting because it brings up the whole conflict of existential transcendentalism, which is basically where we say, this earth sucks. I want out into the cosmos. That's where the really cool stuff happens. That's where we can spin around and have access to photon energy and miraculous powers and stuff like that. And yet, what the adepts all knew very clearly was the reason that's even out there is so that it can be basically grounded, channeled into a material realm for experience. So, it's like we're there going, I want to be out there. Meanwhile, we're here. And it's like we are actually the portal between earth and cosmos.
Exactly.
Our hearts, our beings are like the antenna that link those things.
Mm-hmm.
Earth is here going, I want cosmic frequency connected to my material realm. And cosmos is going, I want a material realm to connect with, just like man and woman, right? And it's like we are the connector.
These antenna.
We are the connector.
Yeah. And Ricky says that right there. I ground barefoot to the earth while meditating, sending healing energy into the earth. Every day, I receive prana or life force energy by allowing the energy to flow through my body. And that's exactly it, right? Like she is, with her crown of stars, she is as above, so below. And it's those threes that are there are like as above, so below, and everything in between. And we are that vessel that we're channeling that through. And that is a dang superpower.
That is the superpower of all, because we just don't even know what can take place once we really align with that. If you think about some of the abilities of ancient indigenous people on this planet, like they could commune with weather deities and change storms and transform, terraform landscapes. Like we're just barely scratching the surface of what we're going to be able to do. And it really isn't about escaping out there. It's about like learning how to become these beings that can link out there's potent dynamicism with here's like phenomenal in this material realm. This like energy, toroidal energy of the earth plane is where stuff happens. It's where material realm, manifestation is created in the material. So we've got to be grounded all the way into 1D, all the way out to exponential dimensions. And we're capable of it. We're made for this. So
And lastly, in order to do that, I just keep hearing lay down the load. And it's just like, and because we are, as transmuters, carrying a lot of energy, and we got it coming from everywhere. You need to juggle life, and you need to live like this, and you need to be in all these different realities. And so it's like really honoring ourselves and our practices of, at least once a day, laying down the load and going into that mode of like, I know I am the superpower, and that we can access both.
Cool.
When we learn to lay down the load.
Yeah, thank you, Crystal. And I just noticed Ricky saying here, send healing energy into the universe in every direction, 1,000 light years away. Imagine big things happening, and they will happen. And I just read something, I think it was yesterday, about them getting a signal from like, I don't know, more than 1,000 light years away. But hey, maybe that was you, Ricky.
Well done.
It's like, we are us then and there, and it's like, it's just so comical in a way when you start to realize like how powerful we are. And we're just waking up to the realization that we are in these different time, space realities simultaneously. And all we have to do is say, hey, I'm going to send healing back into the past. I'm going to send it into the future. Look at that. I just did the opposite. And it's like we are expanding our realm right there into like, hey, I don't just care about my little small self right here and now. Like love is eternal. It goes in every direction. It goes, and it's going to make changes. right here.
Yeah. And we say we because this advice is not just for you, it's for us too, right? Like we're all in this knowing that we all need to be doing the advice that comes through on all of your guides and on all of us as a collective um transmutative force. Transmutative force. Okay.
Good job, Crystal.
Thanks, Mama.
So I think Susan's question here,
Suzanne's.
there might be one other. We're going to pull another one of Suzanne's questions up.
She's just laying them up.
And if you did put a question up earlier and we've lost track of it, put it in capitals and put it at the bottom. We'll grab a couple more before we go off.
Yeah.
So is the Norse mythology of the three Norns, the muses spinning the threads of life, actually reading our DNA, the book of life. Ooh. Right? Mythology is, you know, it's so interesting. I was just reading a book this morning and it was about basically the indigenous people of the Americas and how their history is so ancient and their relationship to the land and how much they've changed the land. I think the book is called 1491. It's a pretty incredible book. But they were talking in there about how the scientists or the the intellectuals from the West, when they first met the indigenous North Americans and South Americans, they were like, the indigenous people were sharing their stories like, this is our science, this is where we came from, this is these are our stories, this is our history. And the Europeans were like, that's nonsense. That's just a bunch of gobbledygook mythology, right? But so much of that stuff is starting to be related. It's like, okay, they told it in a kind of almost like a child storytelling narrative, but it's actually, if you look at the meanings of these things, it's all very coded, right? Like, the three Norns and the weaving of our fates and destinies and the strands of the DNA, like that, the indigenous people were basically saying, this is science and we know stuff. And it's been shown that they actually know about constellations that we couldn't even see until
they didn't
just
need
recently.
Labs and telescopes and
exactly. So woo-hoo! Yes is the answer. Yes is the answer. We got the yes card. Definitely the three Norns spinning the thread of life. Oh ho ho. Reading our DNA and the book of life. I don't think we need to put mouth shells, but look, there's the three Norns.
Wow.
Right?
Potent. Yeah. We got clear answers.
Yep. And so what do we need to do with this information? Again, I think it's exactly what I was just saying. We need to really see that there's a lot of damage that's been done. Look at this, with all the BS historical narrative, scientific, to me, a lot of science has been about limiting reality. Yeah, sure, it's cataloging, categorizing, measuring, and so on. But when you say black and white, this is all there is until somebody proves you wrong. And guess what? The person that proves you wrong usually loses their head in the process because they're so blacklisted. There's the black sky from the academic community because oh heavens, they had a thought that was beyond as far as the scientific investigation went last time. It's like, really, you got to be kidding me. If science is all about limiting our reality, we got to move beyond that. And so, yeah, I think this is saying, let go of the old, what we've been told about DNA, what we've been told about the fates and the tree of life, and look at that, come into a spiritual connection. The spiritual warrior is here saying, yes, these mythologies are not just children's fables. These are basically extraordinary, I want to say, encapsulations of so much ancient wisdom. And it's time that we stopped limiting them and stopped limiting our view of reality based on what science says is real right at the moment. That's my little rant on that. You got to get one little rant from Michelle every Live.
One. Okay. So there is a couple more questions here. I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
I'm going to do a couple because I saw that Suzanne reminded Miss Fiji, and then I do see that last one there on. There's one more.
Okay.
Yeah. It's down there. Okay, question from Miss Fiji. Does our human voices carry a frequency that awakes the Earth's energy? Yeah, thank you, Suzanne, for pointing out that, and we'll get into that. What a beautiful little question. Mm-hmm. Ooh, our voices, so powerful.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Norma Jean.
Yes, thank you,
It
Norma
is
Jean. I
great.
love all your rooting us on. We just love it. Go ahead and shuffle, Mama, on that, and let's pull maybe just a couple of.
That I'm only supposed to clear it or
Okay.
or divide it and
Oh
not
yeah,
shuffle.
I really put my energy into that.
Ooh, what's on the bottom?
Dun, dun, dun.
The surprise card. You leave it till later. No.
Oh,
Okay, here we go.
maybe it's the only one we need.
Maybe it's the only one we need.
I don't know. Does our
Okay.
human voices carry a frequency that awakens the Earth energy?
Done. King of Wands, so he's the entertainer. You know, we did used to call this the trump card because he's just larger than life, fully like adventurous, and often in the realm of entertainment, politics, revolutionary change, and so on. So yes, this card relates to the arts, hugely relates to the arts. So the frequency of our voices, huge energy, probably more than we even can imagine right now.
Yeah.
Now let's lay out 3 cards. What do we need to know about this? Okay, so what I'm being shown with this, look at that. We've been our voices are, the harmonics of our vocal expression have been tampered with hugely, is what I'm hearing. Like even the sounds, if you go to different indigenous cultures, their mouths can make all these sounds in the back of their throat. They can do all these extraordinary things with sound that we've been literally, our sound has been blocked. And I've heard that the English language is one of the worst. Like it's so blocked. Like the vocal range in the English language and the sound quality is very low. Shucks, eh? So,
and we've been talking about that last week on our lives too. It definitely came up about language and spell casting, and we weren't here on a live last week. Sorry, week before.
Yes, exactly. So, what's cool is it looks like we're going to get some kind of upgrade. And I feel like what it is, just like I was saying about the pranic energy or the photon energy, the mana from heaven, it's there for us already, but it feels like it comes in a package, which is about training our vocal cords. So it's not about like, we'll wake up one day and suddenly we can, although it certainly is getting more and more like that. But I feel like what we're going to be given is actual practices that help us expand the frequency of our voices. And I feel like that's coming within a year. So it's probably going to be the next trendy thing, as everyone is learning vocal expansion or working with complexity in vocal. I've heard people talking about, different singers working with tonal, I can't remember what it's called, where you do 2 harmonic tones at the same time, tonal singing or something like that. Anyway, there's so much that we can do with our voices, and that the earth is so, I want to say, blessed and up-leveled by the magic power of our voices. And we're going to regain this ability. This is coming back hugely, is what I'm getting.
There you go, another Rochelle rant for you. Okay.
Crystal's your turn next time.
Well, okay, so lastly here, And Suzanne, I saw that you did have another question. Let me see here. So can you do a poll on XRP energy? Mhm. About the singing and our voices, I was just recently gathered with some of our Indigenous people here in Kamloops this last weekend, and there was some drumming and singing that was happening, and we all were invited to join in, and the feelings that flow through you when you're singing these ancient Indigenous songs, and when we're all coming into harmony together, and each of our voices being so unique and being expressed and held together like that, there's such a feeling in it that more of that happening together, I think, is such a beautiful invitation for us to step into, starting there, coming together and singing, coming together and drumming.
Okay, so XRP is something we don't know much about, but we'll just do a quick.
Let's pull a few cards on that.
Pull. You go ahead, sweetie.
Okay. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
XRP energy, because you were saying earlier that you've had a really good feeling about XRP and felt good energy around it. It looks good to me.
Definitely. Look at this, going through a gateway over the last 3 or 4 months. The tools coming into the hands of individuals, up-leveling our abilities, our capacities, and heading into a really sweet sharing moment coming up here, even in the next week, I feel like. So look at the colors. I mean, that is just beautiful, brilliant. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, and it feels like really it feels like, because there's that, you can feel the energy in it, like you were expressing, there's this kind of opportunity to get really like open and curious and almost sort of playful with it. Because it like with currency and something like the energy around the XRP, I feel like it's rare with that kind of stuff to feel really uplifted and lighthearted about it. So let roll with it and play in that. Go for it. Yeah, you've got the tools.
Perfect. Thank you, Crystal. So we got anything else coming up here?
Suzanne said something about.
And then I think this will be the last one, because we're over an hour. So, where was it?
Did something happen around?
There we go.
Here, Mom, I'm going to get you to shuffle.
Perfect. Thank you, love.
And I'll read the question.
Okay, sounds good.
Did something happen around the 10th of March, 2020 that created a mass awakening amongst us light workers? Did it?
Drum roll, please.
Again and again and again here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. 10th of March, 2020. It just seems so obvious to me in a way that things that were scheduled to be these great awakenings were to some degree manipulated in order to suppress that, right? But what's interesting is when you play the manipulation game, when you play the hijacking energy game, the more likely than not, in the long run, it backfires on you. So what you intend is to shut people's energy down, but what you actually do is you throw a bunch of curveballs and it opens the frequency up in the bigger picture. So it feels like just what I'm sensing is you're right on around these dates, and that it actually, go ahead, sweetie.
Okay. Should we just do 3?
Sure.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Ooh, yeah. There's the curveball, right? The great the great change. So death is the flip side of the death coin is rebirth. Now, interesting, because the flip side of, like the flip side of the death coin being rebirth. And then if we look at the death number is 13. So if we were to say we went through a kind of death, which was the heralding of a rebirth 13 years later, that would bring us to 2033. So I'm suspecting that we're looking at this set in motion, a really big change that will take about 13 years to complete. But look at this. It's almost like, I get that it was behind schedule. Like, I get, we were waiting at 2012 for the big activation, and I think it was about 7 or 8 years late. Well, we were waiting for December 21st, 2012, and I get that it actually happened December 21st, 2019, 7 years later. And that heralded this great turning point. So March the 10th feels like, it's when it really got activated and that great change took place. What are you pulling, sweetheart?
I was just asking, like, what happened on March the 10th that made that happen? I got this fella again.
Yeah.
I'm curious about why you listed March 10th as that specific date.
Yeah, me too.
And what happened on that date, and if it involved some sort of a big figure or
Mr. T.
Yeah. What happened then that might have caused that, the fives, as we've been talking about, that stir to come in and that kind of chaos to be triggered into, like I said about the fives, this is that invitation for upgrade, right? And so that would be the massive awakening amongst us light workers that had been underground almost and being developed from, like Mom said, that 7-year cycle that was triggered in 2012. Whatever happened on March 10th was that activator that came in and woke it up. And there in any of us stepping into our light, something has to go into the dark, right? There needs to be that death that occurs in order for us to take the journey into the light. So that would make so much sense. I woke up in late December 2019 feeling very different, like extremely positive, and like the world had changed.
Yeah, we were all talking about this, how so many people had really big plans for 2020. We've talked about this for years, how, a lot of people were like, Crystal, you used to say 2020 was the year that you were upgrading. And
oh, I mean, 2018 and 17, 18, 19 was just crazy for me. And so many people were like, yeah, 2020 is like the year and I'm finally ready and everything's lining up and everything's coming into place. And then, things happened. Okay, beautiful. Lockdown was late March. I don't know why March 10th. It was just a date I got in my head and just felt right. Well, interesting. Maybe we'll all do some research on what happened of March 10th, 2020. That date reads as 314 adding up to 8. Was it a power date? Who knows?
Possibly. But I think it was a good question that you brought forward, because I have never seen this before, but it feels like, now, are we saying we were late, or are we saying that, like Crystal said, we just needed some time to prepare? But it feels like 7 years exactly after December 21st, 2012 was when the real transition opened, the portal opened. And so, as I said before, knowing this was coming, these controllers were busy at work trying to create a whole bunch of hijinks to, deflect the potency of what was about to happen. But as we said, be careful. Be careful what you do to try to manipulate these energies, because a lot of times when you have controlling manipulative intentions, those things come right back at you like a boomerang.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like it has the opposite long-term effect of what you were trying to make happen. And I think we're witnessing that. Like, just look at how much opening and activation and awareness and upgrade and everything has happened since then. I feel like, it's like there's these little players supposedly pulling strings, but above them are the much bigger overall energies, which really aren't pulling strings. They're just working with the energy. And we go back to weaving the fates, right? It's like what comes around goes around. And if your only way of growing, evolving, and experiencing life is by stealing energy from others, it's a limited game.
It is limited.
It's only going to go so far, and then it's going to backfire on itself. So yeah,
yay for the light workers.
this has been such a beautiful sharing today, everyone. Thank you
so
all for your
much.
questions and for your presence here with us. And we really look forward to seeing you. I think we're all three of us going to be on next week. So
actually, I think it's just Mom and I next week, and then the following week is
Perfect.
The three of us.
Got it.
Yeah, and we look forward to sharing with you again next week. Thank you so much for your questions today. This was such fun.
It was really fun. Like, share, and subscribe. And we'll yes, something
one
else.
last thing. We still have a sale happening.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah. So please go on to our website. The link will be below, and all the details of the sale will be below the live when it comes out. And wow, it's just been really powerful sessions that we've been having during these times. And
truly.
The sale is phenomenal, and I so look forward to connecting with anybody who is meant to receive medicine in our exchange, and Anita as well. So
yeah.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Thank you for being here. Have a glorious week, everyone.
Blessings. Bye for now, everybody.